He immediately calls wyverns for assistance, and they are all saved by the wyverns. Kim Miso inquires about what happened. Park Junho responds, suggesting that there may have been a problem with one of the blood crystal generators, but they won't have certainty until it's thoroughly investigated. She points out that although the DGB's blood crystal generators have occasionally caused problems, an explosion of this magnitude warrants assembling all the team leaders. Park Suho expresses his desire to construct a large moat around Suho's land. Park Juno questions if he intends to encircle the outer walls from Uijongu Tangu with a moat. He raises concerns about the exorbitant cost of such a massive construction project. Park Suho suggests that he will need to go earn money unless he happens upon a treasure dungeon or something of the sort. Kim Miso mentions the existence of a treasure dungeon, specifically a level 4 scorpion dungeon in Gwangju Field in the Gyeonggi province. This dungeon has 12 days remaining before it breaks, and it yields valuable items dropped every hour, with the potential to gather a minimum of 5 blood crystals per person. She notes that the scorpion dungeon is currently under the management of the Goro Guild in the southern fields of Gyeonggi province. Interestingly, a cooperation request has already arrived from the Goro Guild. She explains that the Goro Guild's parent company, Goro Construction, boasts 50 years of experience in river construction, and by cooperating effectively, they can complete the construction at half the price. Jong Joshik expresses his desire to use this opportunity to thoroughly test his new strength. Yonggan suggests that if he wishes to do so, they could each form a party with the recruits in the guild. She assures them that during their absence, she will handle the contract negotiations with Goro Construction. The news broadcast announces that the SUO Guild's party of 5 has finally commenced their raid on Gyeonggi Province's Scorpion Dungeon in Gwangju Field. Inside the dungeon, they were engaged in a fierce battle against the Scorpions, successfully defeating them and collecting the precious blood crystals. Meanwhile, in Mongolia, soldiers faced an onslaught of thousands of monsters converging on their position. Simultaneously, in the Situation Room at the Scorpion Dungeon in Gyeonggi Province, a member of the Awakened Bureau entered and approached an operator. The member inquired about Park Suho's expected exit from the dungeon. The operator responded, stating there were still 4 days remaining until the dungeon break. Rumors suggested Park Suho planned to take his time farming the last boar before leaving. The bureau member relayed this information to the director seated in the bureau. The director instructed the bureau member to deliver a message to Park Suho upon his emergence, that Uijongu and Suho land were on the brink of destruction, and his entire family would meet their demise. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. Best team in Manhwa? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. Meanwhile, in a high-level meeting, an individual presented an image on the screen to the president. It depicted their front line captured by a drone, showing the aftermath of a recent meteor impact. 3 meteors, each 23 feet in diameter, had crashed in Donggan Field, annihilating everything within a 4-mile radius, including the frontline operation area of the 11th Corps. The presenter reported detecting significant waves of dimensional energy at the moment of impact, and mentioned finding references to meteor summoning magic in the Planet Aruka Magic Encyclopedia. Initially considering the possibility of North Korean rogue taming skills, it now suspected involvement of a vampire. Not long ago, a level 7 dungeon had broken in Gong, believed to be a vampire dungeon. They connected this to the vampire serial murder cases in Seoul, speculating that some vampires had infiltrated the city. Concerned, the president questioned how vampires, seemingly immune to current technology's killing methods, had moved from Gong to Seoul. Someone suggested locking down all gates within Seoul as a precautionary measure. The news broadcast reports that the surging monsters have annihilated the entire 1st Corps subordinate unit following the meteor crash in Padu Field. Consequently, the 3rd Corps subordinate unit has decided to abandon their current frontline position, withdraw to the Seoul barriers, and regroup to halt the monster wave that originated in Kazakhstan. The Chinese government is initiating a tactical nuclear attack in the autonomous region. Simultaneously, the Russians have launched their tactical nuclear attack on Anyulan, Mongolia. The report also brings another breaking news update. Martial law has been declared in Seoul. Meanwhile, the director makes a call to Kim Miso, who is currently in Suholand Uijongu. He urgently advises her to evacuate the area if she wishes to survive. He explains that they are in the midst of a national emergency, and the 3rd Corps subordinate unit is currently retreating toward the Seoul barriers, with their location being near Uijongu. He strongly urges her to join the unit and make her way down there, emphasizing that if she misses this chance to leave, she will soon find herself surrounded by monsters. He reveals that there are plans to bomb Uijeong to wipe out the monster clusters there. Meanwhile, people are departing from Gate 34 when suddenly Choi Soo-young arrives and eliminates a vampire who had just bitten a soldier. She instructs the team to set up all the equipment around the gate and stand by. She then enters the gate area and inquires if everyone from Suho Land has passed through, mentioning Suwaki and Kim Miso by name. However, she informs that their names are not on the list. On the other side, Kim approaches Granny and emphasizes the urgency of their departure. Granny points out that Gu's father and uncle have not yet arrived, and she questions how Kim Miso expects her to leave without them. Just then, a newbie arrives and reports that all the construction workers are hurrying out, but they can't locate Gunwoo anywhere. Granny suggests that if he's not around, he might be playing in the beast's resting zone. Suddenly, the newbie points out the window and remarks that the sky is taking on an unusual appearance. They all turn their attention to the window, witnessing vampires launching a sudden attack on the Suho Guild. Kim Miso immediately issued orders to close the doors, but the vampires swiftly destroyed everything and gained entry into Suho's house. She directed everyone to gather behind her as they approached, employing a firebomb to counter their assault. Urgently, Kim Miso instructed everyone to evacuate towards the beast farm. Engaged in battle, Kim Miso faced off against the vampires. One landed a devastating punch, rendering her unconscious. They moved to attack her for her fresh blood when Granny intervened, bravely using a pan to fend off the vampires. However, she too was struck by a vampire's punch. They resumed their assault on Kim Miso. The soldiers hesitated, unsure of their next move. Just as a vampire was about to bite Kim Miso, Choi Soo-young arrived and launched a fierce attack, ultimately killing the vampires. Choi Soo-young ordered the soldiers to take both Kim Miso and Granny to safety at the beast farm. As they fled, bats transformed into vampires and pursued them. Choi Soo-young continued to fight against the relentless attackers. On another front, a vampire appeared before the soldiers carrying Granny and Kim Miso. Suddenly, Akiko emerged and swiftly attacked, killing the vampire. Choi Soo-young deployed a defensive bomb against the remaining vampires, eliminating them. However, they soon surrounded her. Meanwhile, Park Suho arrived and engaged the vampires with his fire fairies, reducing them to ashes. He questioned the nature of these creatures as Choi Soo-young regrouped with him. The vampire queen seized Choi Soo-young and attempted to carry her away. Park Suho analyzed the Queen's status screen, questioning why she was causing havoc in someone else's territory. Queen defiantly responded that from now on was her home ground. Park Suho attacked with his fire fairies, but she remained resilient and made another attempt, hurling her away. The Queen reached a garden area, noting its freshness as her wounds rapidly regenerated. Park Suho commented on her resilience, remarking that she must have a strong will to live. He asked if she had ever heard of a planet called the Animal Kingdom. The Queen replied that based on her subject's visit to Earth 120 years ago, it was merely a primitive planet ruled by lowly creatures called humans. She believes that humans being savages couldn't possibly harm her. He mentions that she's the first one who hasn't perished after being attacked by his fairies and muses, that they could have been friends if she hadn't trespassed on his territory to challenge him. She asserts that she will kill him regardless of her identity, as this is her territory. From this moment on, she tries to wake Choi Soo-young by mentioning her daughter. When she awakens, she commands her to kill him. She attacks with a sword and slashes at his neck. She questions if the sword is a god's artifact, suggesting that it should be destroyed if she cannot possess it. She kicks his head away but performs some magic with her finger in the sky. She wonders if it's a meteor. He responds that it's just the beginning and that her enraged warriors will annihilate every living thing on this land until there is nothing left. Park Suho transforms into a black bear and attempts to intercept her stone attacks. He also summons a tornado to hurl the stones out of the earth, which inadvertently strikes a satellite in Japan's defense headquarters. They report the loss of signal from the combat satellite MZ-1 and begin investigating. Park Suho wonders if he managed to dispose of it safely, as it felt like something had exploded. She suggests that next time she should begin with the vampire's mouth. He inquires if she's all right, to which she responds by asking why he's asking, as she doesn't appear injured to him. He acknowledges that she's always been a bit eccentric and suggests that she might not require any medic. He expresses gratitude to her for saving his family. Monk Myungjin, Park Junho, Jang Jae-shik, and Hong, who arrive at the scene. Monk Myungjin asks what he just sent flying into the sky. It appears as though he smashed a meteor with his fist and sent it into space. Park Suho inquires about the well-being of the others. Park Junho reports that Aunt Sukya and the chief are recovering at the medical center, while Gunwoo has been taken to the dormitory. Dong-su informs them that tens of thousands of monsters are now converging in their direction, and an evacuation order has been issued. Park Suho added that the chief had mentioned a massive bombing imminent, and stressed the need to escape. Choi Soo-young provided specific information, stating that approximately 120,000 monsters were approaching from 6.1 kilometers outside the outer wall of Suho Land Castle. Park Suho agreed, mentioning that the military had already pulled back and they should follow suit. In response, Park Junho was tasked with making a call to inform them not to engage the monsters. Concerned about the urgency of the situation, Choi Soo-young remarked that it might already be too late. Park Junho made the call and learned that artillery fire had commenced, With an air raid scheduled soon, everyone began running towards safety, with Park Suho commenting on the daunting challenge of stopping 1,000,000 creatures. At the military base camp, commanders assessed the situation at Suho Land and observed the Apache squadron initiating an attack. They expressed surprise, questioning if these monsters possessed anti-air capabilities. Meanwhile, a team assembled at the Presidential National Crisis Management Situation Room. The director questioned if they were utilizing all available firepower, noting minimal damage to the advancing monster horde, which was merely slowing their advance. Acknowledging the formidable strength of the enemy, he sought advice on the appropriate response. Suggestions were made to issue an evacuation order for Seoul in anticipation of a massive meteor attack targeting the city. The director vehemently opposed this idea, emphasizing the substantial investment made in Seoul's infrastructure and the city's strategic importance. At that moment, a person entered the room with breaking news. The United States had approved a nuclear strike, and a B-1B Lancer bomber was launching from Guam. Faces in the room lit up with a mix of tension and excitement as they contemplated the implications of this drastic measure for their survival. Meanwhile, the news reports that the approved warhead is a 10 KT nuclear warhead named Amazing Goodman, which is expected to be dropped in approximately an hour and 40 minutes. The designated drop point is the Oalo Nyang Station Field. If it explodes at an altitude of 500 meters, it is anticipated to have a shockwave damage effect extending up to 4.26 kilometers. They say Seoul lies beyond the reach of the shockwave's influence. However, there are concerns about potential long-term radiation exposure, especially in Uijeongga, where Suho Land is located. They also note that the B-1B Lancer Squadron has recently taken off from Guam, and a national crisis is unfolding. There is particular worry regarding the safety of Suho Land. The director raises the point that Suho Land's purpose is to defend Seoul and suggests deploying the Idiom Shield on Seoul's outer wall to eliminate the threat. Meanwhile, the soldiers express their exhaustion, unable to hold on any longer as the Apache squadron began to retreat. Suddenly, they noticed something passing by them and questioned among themselves what it could be. A soldier discerned that it was Park Suho who had arrived, transformed into an eagle. He employed the power of Earth Fury, causing all the monsters to be submerged underground. They observed in awe as the monsters were drawn into the ground. However, their relief was short-lived as they witnessed the giants resurfacing once again. Park Suho launched another attack, this time using massive tree trunks to crush the monsters. Meanwhile, in the Blue House National Crisis Management Situation Room, a meeting took place where they watched a video of Park Suho's battle against the monsters. The president inquired if Park Suho had caused an earthquake and initiated a fire. An individual confirmed that the 120,000 monsters of concern had been eliminated. The president immediately instructed the recall of the nuclear bombers. On the other side, Park Suho continued to fight against the monsters, but suddenly he fainted and became motionless. The monsters began advancing towards him. Choi Soo-young and others rushed forward to assist him, engaging in combat with the monsters to protect him. Meanwhile, Hirong-woo was working in a shop when he overheard customers discussing the vampire situation. He checked the regressor stone on his status screen, noting the significant advantages for upgrading it as hero. Pleased with the progress, he realized there were only 298 more upgrades needed for the regressor stone. While checking his phone, he came across news reports about millions of monsters descending from the north and the transformation of Seoul into a wasteland due to vampires. He also read about Park Suho, who had exterminated over 1.2 million monsters with his earthquake skill. Heading towards Seoul, Leong-woo is astonished by this news and contemplates whether it could be considered divine power. The story transitions to a flashback in Finland near Ketilo, where an old man informs Hiro that there is a rumor circulating. It speaks of a god who has emerged in the east, capable of summoning whirlwinds and shaking the earth to expel evil spirits. This god also provides medicine and daily sustenance, serving as a savior for vulnerable humans against evil. This savior bears a distinctive long scar on his face and is seen as a god of salvation in the realm of the deceased. The story returns to the present, and Leong-woo ponders whether the old man's words held any truth. He reasons that the presence of a long scar on someone's face doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's Park Suho. It dawns on him that there might be several individuals capable of wielding divine power, suggesting the existence of an item that can awaken such abilities. His thoughts drift back to when AO informed him about a rare item that appears on one of the planets every 1,000 years, disappearing within 10 days. This item, when consumed, prevents aging and death. He contemplates how Park Suho could have obtained the Chon sword and wonders if he were to return to the moment of significant change and join forces with him, could he acquire the Red Sky fruit. On the other side, in Aawa Ishigaki Island, Kirisawa Ika informs Takeo Chanu that the U.S. Pacific Fleet en route to rescue the South American escape team has been obliterated by sea monsters. Takeo Chanu expresses his concern about the difficulty of reaching Park Suho and questions how they can afford to let go of a man capable of launching a meteorite into space with his fist. Hirasawa suggests that if Park Suho is unwilling to assist, they should consider consuming Korea. He points out that the Korean government has lost its effectiveness and is struggling to defend Seoul under the relentless pressure of the monsters, with their reliance solely on Park Suho's abilities. He explains that cities like Busan, Daegu, Gwangju, and Jeju will likely seek a stronger government and defense contract to ensure their protection. He notes that Bus, currently the most proactive city, is on the verge of declaring independence and signing a defense treaty with Japan. Furthermore, he mentions the attractiveness of the Asian portal in Sigo on Jeju Island. He predicts that with the forthcoming openings of Gandangan in Bu and Iksen, and as the central people of Gutan collaborate with Korean cities, the guardians of these cities will have no choice but to sign defense agreements with them. Suddenly, a portal opens, and Dr. Toddler, accompanied by Chief Gilbert Reynolds, emerges from it. Takeo asks Dr. Toddler if he has finally invented the portal generator. Dr. Toddler mentions that it's the result of their hard work and dedication, but currently, the generator can only accommodate 2 people, and errors occur when 3 or more attempt to use it. He expresses his excitement about sharing a plethora of interesting information with Park Suho, such as the reversion stone and new weapons designed for clearing level S dungeons, among other things. Meanwhile, in Suho Land, all guild members are busy extracting bloodstones from the deceased monsters. They are gathered and tied up inside the house. Granny is weeping, remarking on the sadness of being old, especially when everything now appears hazy. Kim Miso advises her to take her medicine 30 minutes after each meal. She exits the room where Choi Soo-young and Guno are having their food and inquires about Park Suho's whereabouts. Choi Soo-young responds that he should be with his guild members cleaning up the field in front of the barricade. Just then, Park Suho arrives and asks if she is looking for him. She informs him that there's an official letter from the government that she would like to share. He questions the letter's purpose, and she hands him a Guild 0 defense contract. She explains that if he signs it, Suho Guild's level will be elevated to level 0, and Suho Land will be upgraded from District 13 to Suho City. She elaborates that Korea is currently a federation of united cities with autonomy, consisting of 4 large cities: Seoul, Busan, Gwangju, and Daegu, and 3 medium-large ones, along with Jeju Province. Suho City is set to join this list. She further explains that Suho City will possess the same autonomy as other large cities and will sign an official mutual defense treaty with the Korean government. Choi remarks that it's a fancy way of implying they should remain within the country and concentrate on defending Korea. He asserts that he has no intention of leaving. She counters that this is precisely when he should state that he must frequently be out of the country. Kim Miso points out that essentially the government is concerned about the absence of internal defense when he is not in Korea. She inquires if he is comfortable with being pulled in different directions by various individuals who require his assistance. He responds that he only needs to ensure the safety of his home. She assures him that he will be generously compensated for the support he provides, emphasizing that Suo City requires government backing as it is. She believes it is beneficial to mutually assist each other, considering that they are all neighbors. He proceeds to sign the contract. Then, she introduces one more proposal. She suggests he hire her. Their surprise is evident. She describes herself as an ambitious woman and reveals that she holds an executive position at RCD. She promises that if he hires her, she will make every effort to bring in top-tier talent suitable for the prestigious Suo City. She states that she will submit an official job application within a week. He responds that it sounds good to him. She then informs Choi Soo-young that she has received orders to join the Special Task Force for Vampires. Choi Soo-young questions whether the issue with vampires has already been resolved. She explains that they continue to receive reports of murders that appear to be the work of vampires, which is why they are expanding the task force and providing the necessary equipment to address the situation. She mentions that she plans to stay overnight and join the task force the following day, as it is already quite late. Afterwards, she heads to the shower and discovers vampire bite marks on her neck. Kim Miso contacts Mr. Chin and informs him that there is some commotion within the group regarding the search, seizure, and arrests. However, she mentions that the construction site is still robust. He says he heard that the use of defective materials in Suo City was a pretext to remove Mr. Jian from the group. She responds that they have temporarily addressed the issues with the power plant facilities, but there is a possibility of another explosion shortly. He sighed. Unfortunately, there are limitations to what we can achieve with our current technology. He suggested that it would be more efficient to reach out to Tesla in America. She inquired if it wasn't the Sheila Group that initially constructed the Bloodstone power plant facilities in and soul. San interjected, explaining that while the Sheila Group initiated the construction, the facilities were overseen by Tesla's team. She elaborated that technical cooperation had ensued after paying patent fees, albeit for a limited time frame and without technology transfer. She asked if Dr. Richard was still leading Tesla's facility team. Meanwhile, she contemplated that for Suho Land to achieve technological independence, they needed a core engineer to lead dimensional energy research, along with equipment engineers, researchers of various levels, and a returning inventor of caliber comparable to Dr. Toddler of British Roland or Dr. Richard of American Tesla. Subsequently, she arrived in Suho Land. After some time, Park Suho arrived at the construction site and inquired about the slow progress. The workers explained they were doing their best, but frequent electricity disruptions halted the machines. Park Junho added that cafeterias were also affected by unstable equipment at the Bloodstone power plant facility. Park Suho instructed everyone to step back and tapped into the power of Earth's WFT, causing the ground to tremble. The workers recognized it as the renowned Suho brand earthquake. Park Junho acknowledged that he might knock himself out again. He stressed the need to reinforce the security of the outer perimeter to ensure safety in his absence. He questioned if Park Suho truly intended to go to planet Aruka, to which Park Suho confirmed his plans. Meanwhile, they spot Kim Miso's car, and she informs them that they have received an urgent request for cooperation from Sheila Guild. Suddenly, Dong-su descends from the mountain, and they question why he came down as he was instructed to keep watch over the orc village up the hill. He responds that it's because he has found something critical and shows them the news. He explains that there is a dungeon within Sheila Guild's district. Its inhabitants are exceptionally powerful. Even Sheila Guild's ace, Minok, was bitten in the leg and severely injured. He speculates that these must be formidable creatures, which he confirms, stating that Minok Kang is an S rank. Kim Miso expresses relief at this news and informs him that this is the dungeon they need help with, as it is on the verge of breaking. Dong-su suggests that they should hurry, and she adds that Sheila Group is a company that possesses engineers and equipment related to the Bloodstone power plant facilities. She mentions that she has requested access to these assets in exchange for assisting in clearing the dungeon. Once she finishes signing the contract, he joins them. Dong-su reassures her, stating that he believes it is on the verge of breaking and that she shouldn't be concerned about it. She clarifies that this assessment is from Sheila Guild's perspective, and the actual break is still 8 days away. Additionally, there are 45 other dungeons to consider. She emphasizes that it is Sheila Group that is facing a crisis, so they should wait until they are contacted again. While they are in the midst of their conversation, a helicopter arrives at the scene. Dong-su inquires about its presence, noticing that their guild's name is displayed on it. She explains that DGB has sent it as a gesture of apology. Upon seeing the pilot, he remarks that he thinks he has encountered him before. She confirms that they had indeed ventured into a level 4 dungeon together back in Suo Land in Nangu. She identifies the pilot as Minucio, who had worked on portal management at RCD. He emerges from the helicopter and declares that he will serve as the leader of the SUO Guild portal equipment team. He mentions that they have received a message from Sheila. The president has only instructed them to read it and proceed. He inquired whether they could depart now. Suio guided them, saying, "This way," as he led them towards the dungeon. He instructed them to start filling the stream with water up to the point where construction had been completed, as this area was intended for use as a crocodile farm. Park Junho inquired whether she had received any communication from Zhang Yik since he went to Jiano. She recalled his admiration for the thousand swordsmith Sun Lei Zhang and mentioned that he had always desired the honor of meeting him. She replied that he had not yet located him when they last spoke earlier that morning. Park Junho explained that it was his first time visiting Jiano and questioned whether it was truly necessary to go to such lengths to search for someone, especially since sword craftsmanship seemed unrelated to the Bloodstone power plant. She countered that sword craftsmanship on planet Hades differed from that on Earth, emphasizing the crucial factor of Mr. Sunle Zhang's awakened skill, akin to an invention much like Dr. Toddler. She elaborated that he had earned the title of Thousand Swordsmith on planet Hades, where acquiring skills required substantial effort, highlighting the significance of his inventive talents. She suggested that his talent may well surpass that of Dr. Toddler. Handong raised the possibility that he could be one of those hidden maestros known only by reputation. She agreed, stating that he could be considered as such and believed he would make an excellent research director at Suho City if they could eliminate one very variable. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out at Dragon Saiyan 1 who commented, "Best fighting style is the old number 1 if Kim Sukyeon's school PLs shout me out. I have never been shouted out on our Questism video. Thanks for commenting." Meanwhile, inside the helicopter, Park Soo-ho gazed out of the window. Suyo remarked on how beautiful the Earth used to be, expressing the feeling that the entire planet was now transforming into a colossal dungeon. He shared his distress about the news he had watched in recent days. Park Soo-ho inquired about the notion of the entire Earth becoming a giant dungeon. Suyo explained that dungeon monsters were forcing people out of their territories and establishing their villages, leading to significant changes in the Earth's environment. He noted that this phenomenon wasn't limited to Korea. It was occurring worldwide. Park Soo-ho realized that to understand this situation, they must uncover the root cause of the Earth's deterioration. He believes that the High Elves of Aruka may hold the answers to what triggered the catastrophe, the emergence of dungeons, the whereabouts of his missing friends, and the mysteries surrounding him. He queries the whereabouts of the portal leading to the planet Aruka. Minusio reveals that the Era portal in Asia is situated in Sido Jedu, and its highly classified information is known only to top government officials and RCD equipment technicians. Park Soo-ho contemplates leaving for Aruka as soon as he gathers enough crocodiles to fill the new stream. On the other side, Lungu finishes his work at the shop and heads out, contemplating the idea of leaving Boos for the United States. He believes that there are many independent survivors scattered in the fields there, more than in Korea or Japan, which would make it easier for him to upgrade his regression stone. He thinks that some of the large cities in the United States still possess enough power and intelligence to withstand 10 years of level 7 dungeon breaks and monster waves. He wonders if he could gain access to their intelligence by using his future diary as bait, which could potentially yield more advanced data about Park Soo-ho. Meanwhile, Park Soo-ho enters the dungeon accompanied by Minusio, who was initially meant to be dropped off at his destination. Feels a strange sense of familiarity in this place. Suddenly they are ambushed by crocodiles. He immobilizes them by tying them with tree trunks and swiftly takes them down, instructing Minusio to eliminate every threat and collect their bloodstones while exploring the area. Park Soo-ho notices claw scratches on a tree, recognizing them as Kiro's marks. He reflects that this used to be his territory and that he hadn't trespassed into Kiro's domain for at least a century before his departure. He asks about Mr. Kiro's identity, considering him both a friend and a formidable rival. He speculates whether Kiro is searching for him and contemplates the events that might have occurred in this forest during his absence. Park Soo-ho decides to use his searching skills, hoping that they might reveal something. As he activates the skill, Park Soo-ho experiences brief flashbacks, yet the memories remain elusive, leaving him with a nagging feeling that he glimpsed something crucial, though he can't quite recall it. His frustration mounts as his recollection of the forest stays frustratingly low. Engaging in combat with a lizardman, Park Soo-ho checks his status screen and identifies the creature's armor. He remarks aloud that such beings don't belong in this place, and commands his fire fairies to reduce the armor to ashes, obtaining a blood crystal in the process. Pondering aloud if Minusio wants to revisit their former world before returning to Earth, Minusio affirms eagerly. As Park Soo-ho catches the blood crystal, feeling its heat, he spontaneously begins to climb a nearby tree, beckoning Minusio to follow. Arriving at the top, Park Soo-ho gestures at the breathtaking scenery, describing how he used to seek refuge here from his cave life. He points out finely crafted stone knives that resemble artifacts from the Stone Age, reflecting on the memories they evoke. Contemplating the possibility that he traversed through time and space to a random planet from the distant past, Park Soo-ho laments the likelihood of never reuniting with his old friends. Suddenly, Minusio interrupts, exclaiming about crocodiles in the river below and suggesting they catch them. Park Soo-ho expresses doubt, questioning if they need bait. Securing Minusio to a rope, he lowers him into the river, claiming to have spotted movement underwater. As a crocodile prepares to attack, Park Soo-ho hurls an arrow, successfully subduing it. Urging Minusio to tame it quickly, he checks the crocodile's status screen and discovers it's a B rank, noting its lingering hostility. Aware of an impending swarm of crocodiles approaching, Park Soo-ho quickly tames the captured crocodile and moves towards the others. Minusio, feeling his role is complete, requests to be released. Park Soo-ho advises him to stay suspended for safety as another group of crocodiles emerges from the forest nearby. He employs a water fairy to control them, explaining that he cannot tame them if they are attacked. He instructs Minusio to use a tornado to tame them as they descend. He initiates and creates a tornado, expressing concern that they are in danger. Then, he opens a portal and dispatches all the crocodiles to Suho Land, mentioning that they are going to come live with him on the other side. There's an issue with an excessive number of crocodiles in Suho Land, and their ditch digger has broken down. Park Junho contacts the Situation Room operator and requests them to convey to Suho that they need to halt the influx of crocodiles, as the situation has become chaotic with over 800 of them filling up the moat on the other side. Kei Minok watches a news broadcast reporting that Park Suho has successfully cleared a level 6 dungeon in Seoul's district, 2 in just 4 days. The dungeon was on the brink of a break, making this achievement even more remarkable. Additionally, the man accompanying him, Minucio, who had been stuck at D rank for years, managed to level up to C rank within those 4 days. K-Minok questions why Minucio, who works for the RCD, is accompanying Park Suho and speculates that they might indeed be government-affiliated individuals. Meanwhile, in KH Group's ace, Hong Se, he expresses her desire to leave. The manager reminds her that she is KH Group's ace, and that the entire company supports her, but her sudden decision to quit without a clear reason raises questions. She explains that she wants to join the Suho Guild. He speculates that the Suho Guild might be the government's secret subsidiary hunting unit, intending to recruit talent from across the country to diminish the power of current hunter companies, increase their influence. She clarifies that her reason for going is because of her connection with Park Suho. He agrees to let her go under one condition. Once KH Guild has 5 S-rank hunters, he will grant her departure. She questions if he expects her to train his hunters, which would take years even if they engage in level 5 dungeon activities. After revealing they've secured entry rights to a level 6 dungeon, Yurkin Park Suho considers selecting promising A-rankers for focused training to accelerate their progress in this challenging dungeon. Meanwhile, in Suho Guild, Park Suho uses his power to connect Crocodile Lake with Yeonggong Stream. Upon completing the task, he suggests it's time for a celebration. Park Junho eagerly agrees, mentioning plans for a barbecue in Purple Village. Their conversation is interrupted by Choi Suwon's arrival. Park Suho asks if she successfully defeated all the vampires. She informs them of her resignation from RCD and requests entry into the guild, specifying she'll take room 305 in the officers' quarters. Park Junho queries Park Suho about his intentions regarding Aruka. Park Suho expresses confidence in his ability to protect their home and vows to defend it with his life. On another front, Sajin enters Kim Miso's office, bringing him a cup of coffee. She mentions hearing about Suwon joining their team. Kim Miso reveals Suwon was fired from her previous position after accidentally killing the defense minister during a vampire hunting mission. Kim Miso expresses frustration with the situation, feeling Suwon is being abandoned despite her exceptional skills. She also laments the bothersome nature of politics. Their discussion is interrupted by MSU entering the room. Kim Miso asks if he's obtained what she requested. He hands her a box containing a memory stone, fulfilling her request. While they discuss this, Kim Miso receives a call from Jong Jaishik, who informs her that he has found Sunpil Jong. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.